be very clear and hold our representatives accountable, because the first emergency management law was passed by Blanchard, one of the first emergency managers we know was done by Granholm. So at this time, we need to use emergency management as a litmus test. We need to know where our people stand in terms of emergency management. And, you know, that should be a part of their platform, that they're going to eliminate it, but we have to hold them up front accountable for that. My story I'd like to share just briefly. I was forced into retirement. July 29th, 2012. They shut down my department. They put part of it out in Wyandotte. And then they privatized the other departments. They, of course, used some scandal, because, you know, they use scandals for everything. You know, scandal to take the pension, scandal to take the water department, scandal, human services. It was supposed to be some furniture brought. But what happened is that we're talking about at least $50 million that came into this city. We were assisting, particularly senior citizens on fixed income, and maintaining their houses, paying their taxes, making sure they can make it through these horrendous winters, because it gets difficult when you're on a fixed income. Somebody didn't want that to happen. And I think the hype of what made them say we're going to shut down the City of Detroit Department of Human Services was 2010, when we paid for over 728 houses that were going into foreclosure. I mean, we assisted up to $9,000. Not no payback, not no plan like Step Forward. It was federal money allocated to low-income people, moderate income, and we made sure those dollars got to that population. And the large majority of them were seniors. Well, somebody didn't like that. So therefore, you look at it and they say, well, this program needs to go to another entity. And that entity is not even in Detroit. So you lost jobs, the people that lived in the city, I was one of them. And then you moved it out into Wyandotte, and what happened then is that now the money is dispersed among Wayne County, and it's not getting to the Detroiters who were the desired population. And that happened with workforce development, and it happened with health department, and that's really hurtful. Because now, if we were to have the outbreak of a communicable disease, we don't have a health department to manage that, and we need to be aware of that. I mean, if we had an outbreak of syphilis, gonorrhea, HIV/AIDS, they have dispersed it. It's over at the Considine. Most people don't even know you can go over there. It is a question whether IPH, the Institute of Population Health, can even provide these government services. So now we are at risk of some very serious health problems. I'd like to know if there are other retirees from the city of Detroit in the audience. All right. And I would like for some of you to come and at least share, you know, your own personal story. And before I ask David Soul to be first, not you, David. Okay, we will pull from the audience. I've talked to quite a few, and one that breaks my heart, and he was in the paper. His name is Octavia Sapp. He used to be the director of the drug abuse program for the Department of Human Services. He's retired, and unfortunately, he's had a series of very challenging health problems. And he was lucky enough to get a kidney transplant about almost 2 years ago. And as a result of them taking our health care, putting us into the affordable health care, where, and this affordable health care, don't get me wrong, can be affordable, but there's a line in there. If you make slightly over, or if you're greater than $25,000, you're going to end up paying some very serious dollars. $400, $500, I mean $600 a month for health care. Well, Mr. Sapp, who was interviewed in one of the local papers,
take my picture on my camera, right?
has a kidney transplant. His medication monthly is $3,100.
Thank you.
And when they moved him, because he was in his funny position where he wasn't, Medicaid has a criteria that you can take 36 months before you can go on Medicaid if you had, I guess, a transplant, a certain precondition illness. So he's not eligible to get his Medicaid, even though he's 65 now. And he won't be eligible until December. The long story short, Mr. Sapp has no health coverage. Okay? Now, he worked for 35 years. He was guaranteed that health coverage, and he took a lower wage. He has no health coverage, and his transplant team really had to go to bat for him, and he was given medication for this current month. But he don't know what's going to happen. Well, no, it's May now. So he doesn't know what's going to happen next month. We have all kind of people falling through the gaps. People, what they're doing is saying, I'm going to take your pension and I'm going to make you pay for health care, which is a tremendous savings to the city of Detroit. So they keep telling you they don't have no money. But they were paying millions monthly based on all the money we had invested on health care. Now, they diverted that cost, about 85% of it. We're talking about somewhere probably close to $400 million a year. They diverted it to the senior citizen, who's least capable of taking care of it. So, I mean, I hear story after story where people are paying. My dear friend Belinda Florence, who's active in this group, she pays her and her husband $1,100 a month for health care. This is criminal. I mean, it is criminal. And then when they say 4.5%, oh, we're going to cut your pension, they ain't talking about the health care that has already cut your pension 50%. So, just to give you a flavor of what we're going through, I would really like a few retirees to come up and share their circumstance. All right, sir. She's active in our Detroit retiree group.